Well, the EFF is returning to court today in a last-minute bid for its leader Julius Malema and 5 MPs to attend the State of the Nation address on Thursday. Malema and his deputy Floyd Shibambu, including 4 other MPs, were found guilty of contempt of Parliament after they stormed the stage during President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address last February. Now, they've been suspended from Parliament for this month and will not be allowed to attend this year's Sona or the budget speech. Last week, the party was dealt a legal blow after the Western Cape High Court struck off the roll the EFF's application to challenge the suspensions. Well, joining me now on the line is Parliament's spokesperson, Moloto Mothapo. Mr. Mothapo, thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with why it is that Parliament is determined to keep the 6 EFF MPs out for the month of February.
Well, it is not that Parliament is determined to keep some members of Parliament out of the sittings of the House. It is a consequence of the actions of those members of Parliament. You will recall that this has got its origins on their conduct during the 2023 State of the Nation address, where they stormed the podium where the President was delivering the State of the Nation address, and where they did not heed the instruction and the ruling of the presiding speaker of the National Assembly, who was presiding at that time. This matter has gone through the processes of Parliament, where such kind of conduct, as and when it happens, it has to be subjected to.
Yeah.
And there is an outcome of the Powers and Privilege Committee, which is constituted of all political parties, that saw it fit that the conduct that was displayed on that day does not augur well for the integrity of the institution, the seriousness with which it has to conduct itself, and the decorum, as well as the orderliness that must take place during sittings of that nature. And there are sanctions that have been taken, and they are now, they've gone to court in order to challenge the implementation. Just to indicate and to stress that those sanctions, by the way, are ongoing. Last week, Thursday, was the first day of the suspension. So as we speak now, these members of Parliament are under suspension.
Let's quickly touch on the new rules for joint sittings, Mr. Mothapo. My understanding is that there are a string of these that were adopted in December last year. What's expected of members of Parliament to ensure the dignity and decorum of the House?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because these rules are very important. Because you will know that South Africans have been looking at Parliament, especially during the State of the Nation address, and they've been frowning at the conduct of some members of Parliament and the chaotic and disorderly nature of the State of the Nation address. So the Joint Rules Committee considered the enhancement of the rules of the joint sitting, so that we can be able to have some sense of orderliness and observance of the decorum of the House and the rules that govern such kind of proceedings. And therefore, there's a wide range of amendments and the new rules that have been introduced in the rule book for the joint sittings. So they cover the joint sittings, they cover the State of the Nation address, and they also cover the opening of Parliament. Opening of Parliament, as you know, is the first address of the President after the elections to a joint sitting of Parliament. So in terms of the rules, no member of parliament may interrupt the president while he is on the podium delivering the State of the Nation address, during the State of the Nation address, or delivering the opening address of parliament. As well as no member of parliament may interrupt the president during the joint sitting of both houses. It might not necessarily be the National Assembly, rather the State of the Nation address, the opening of Parliament, but any joint sitting of Parliament where the President is addressing.
All right.
And also, what is important is that the rules indicate that there will only be one item on the agenda for all these sittings, and no any other item that is introduced from the floor may be entertained.
Well, let me quickly then question you on part of these new rules. Is that what is expected in part to be argued in court by the EFF MPs? Not just them being suspended, but are they expected to challenge these new rules that were adopted in December?
Yeah, there are two court processes. Last week, I believe it was Friday, the EFF was in court to challenge the implementation and the enforcement of these new rules. So that is another case whose judgment is pending. Then today, it is this case that was struck off the roll and has been reinstituted in order to suspend the decision of the Parliament to suspend the members for their conduct during the 2023 State of the Nation address. So those are the two cases that we are dealing with now.
Well, I'm glad you're able to mention that, because part of what I have read is that these new rules will in part allow for security personnel to come into the house, and they will be carrying their weapons. I'd like to find out from you if indeed this is true. If so, what would the circumstances be that allow for armed members of the security personnel to come into the house and perhaps intervene? At what point would this be permitted?
Well, I must tell you that is a grossly very alarmist interpretation, not even interpretation, but it's a distortion of the rules as they are. Mm-hmm. You will know very well that there is a long-standing rule that says that, and that is what is also contained in the Powers and Privilege Act, that says that the presiding officer is the only one that can invite the members of the police to intervene in the house where there is chaos and there is danger to the lives of those who are in the house, that is members of parliament. So that rule has not changed. But of course, you must understand that there could be a very serious, dangerous situation in the house that might warrant such kind of an intervention, a situation that may pose danger to the members and as well as the presiding officers who are on the podium presiding over the house. So that one has not changed. The essential addition to the rules, and that is essentially some of the rules that have been drawn from both the proceedings, the rules that govern the proceedings of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. So that have been integrated, included into the rules of the joint sitting, so that we tighten that space for the purposes and for the objectives that I have already outlined. So there is absolutely nothing that suggests such kind of thing in the rules.
Very briefly then, are there specific provisions for what members of parliament ought to wear?
Well, part of the announcement that will be made in the National Assembly, rather the announcement that will be made during the press briefing of the presiding officers this morning, they will talk about the partnership that Parliament has entered into with Proudly SA. But of course, there is no compulsory or instruction with regard to what members can wear, but just to encourage them to support the local fashion industry.
All right. And you mentioned a media briefing this morning. What time will that be by the presiding officers?
The presiding officers are addressing the media briefing this morning at 11 at the Cape Town City Hall. Right. That is the very same place that the State of the Nation address will be taking place on Thursday.
Moloto Mothapo, thank you very much for your time.